Leftists are a mixed bag. There are many, many different types. They've been infighting basically since its inception. There are old school, there are new school, there's utopian idealists, there are materialists, there are tankies, which regard the state as priority, there are syndicalists, which view the working class as the primary source of revolution instead. There's a lot of flavors of leftists. And so I would like to break down exactly what can be the main stain of how you can actually determine what is leftist cut and dry. So leftism as a term usually comes from the period of the French Revolution and such, where they try to do the libertaire, egalitaire, fraternitaire thing. And this comes from pretty much liberal humanism with regards to believing that humans can all have their sovereignty. And so this is with regards to libertaire, right? This would be like liberty, libertarianism. And so it's about every individual being a sovereign instead of the monarch. And then that gets into how it was a bourgeois revolution in which people could own property. Some already basically determined to have property with their relation to prior monarchs and aristocrats. And so they were kind of starting to push the needle away from monarchism and feudalism into something else. Now, obviously, this liberalism was very idealist in that it only represented the interests of the white men that wanted to reign the next sector of civilization, quote unquote, in. And so what you got was a bunch of scrappy ideas. I shouldn't really say scrappy, but ideas that have in them internal contradictions, but they sounded nice aesthetically. Now, the fact that this event and internationalization of the liberal economy has been around for so long means that it has become the conservative position. And by that I mean private property is conservatism first and foremost. When people refer to themselves as conservative, they can mean a lot of things. There's infighting in that section of the right as well. But there's never really any pushback against the sovereign individual owning private property. Now, what is private property is different than sovereignty, though, because of that internal contradiction I was bringing up earlier. So in the same way that the feudal lords could extract rents and or landlords could extract rents from people that tended to the land, now we have another subset of the same or slash similar situation in which the people that are materially working to produce products for society somewhat, their efforts are being skimmed from. So not only with regards to profit extraction, but also the dictatorial power over how they are engaging in the world. So for a tenant, they aren't allowed to do certain things to the house because they don't own it. Someone else owns it through ideas. Or if you're working for a coal company, let's say, you aren't able to have the access to the resources to include certain levels of like PPE or certain machinery. Like you don't necessarily have a seat at the table for how to improve the work site. unless you engage in labor dispute or the owner is feeling generous. And so what happens is that the worker is alienated from the production process as well as the reaping of what they produce. And so at its core, leftists, genuine leftists that want to move to a more progressive system, wants to abolish the alienating factor in which workers aren't at the moment self-manageable. They do not have sovereignty over their own lives because of private property. Private property, again, being property ownership in which it is just on paper rather than genuinely whoever has a material relationship to the things that they do or the things that they use. And so whether there is a capitalist, a shareholder, a property manager, a landlord, a governmental bureaucratic body that has arbitrary say over what is to be done, disregarding the individual and their material engagement, then they can't work collectively. An example would be a hospital during a triage situation where the boots on the ground laborers, the doctors, the nurses, what have you, will self-organize to save lives in the same way that anarchists or communists would derive use value meaning automatically through their desire to improve society somewhat. Like, kind of anarchist or communism, whatever you want to call it, leftism, is triage. But on a individual slash collective level. So, and the only way to do that is through the abolition of private property, because CEOs that are working for board of directors, that are working for shareholders, don't have the material interest of benefiting their own, or like the workers' lived experiences and the people that they're engaging with, but instead have this necessary need for their class interest, which is having the line going up. And so all of society's mental labor is seemingly focused on making a line go up because it's not leftist. It's ironic that people will call making money to get material goods, quote unquote, materialist, when in fact it's the world running on a set of ideas in which we need to work for somebody else. Some vague notion of the idea that someone else has a control over the value that we all produce, rather than the individuals themselves. And so when people say that leftism is when collectivism, there is this level of irony, because no one is, first of all, independent, right? We all necessitate each other in order to have plumbing, sewers, electricity, all that, right? It is in the individual's interest to work with other people, to do mutual aid, to do empathy, sympathy, to respect one another. The right are always asking about respect. And that is what the left should be considering to be leaning upon, is that we are desiring for no enemies. No enemies. what is the point of competition if we're on the same team, right? Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I am a Twitch streamer. I stream every day. Education broadly, but also talking political theory, philosophy, history. And I'll see you again later.